Okay, let's just jump right in. For the longest time, the measure of a successful company was pretty simple, right? It was all about how much money it made. But that old rulebook, it's basically being torn up and rewritten. The very idea of what makes a company good is going through this massive shift, and honestly, it's changing everything.
So this is really the core question, isn't it? For decades, if you asked anyone in a business school or a boardroom, the answer was a loud and clear yes. But what if that's just not the whole story anymore? What if making a profit is no longer enough?
Well, the answer we're hearing today, and it's getting louder all the time, is a definite no. And this isn't just some passing fad. It's a really deep cultural change, and it's being driven by a new generation that has totally different expectations for the businesses they work for and buy from.
So what is this new mandate exactly? It's really about looking past the bottom line and understanding that businesses have a much bigger role to play. Let's break down what's actually behind this shift.
You know, the engine behind all of this is this huge generational shift. Millennials and Gen Z, they're not just a part of the workforce in the market anymore. They pretty much are the workforce in the market. And what they want is completely different. They're not just looking for a 9 to 5 to get a paycheck. They want work that actually means something. And they don't just buy a product, they buy into the values of the company behind it. This is a total game changer.
So, if the old playbook is out, what's the new one? Well, there's a framework that's been getting a ton of traction, and it's called the triple bottom line. Think of it as the new way companies keep score. The idea is actually brilliantly simple. It was coined way back in the 90s, and the triple bottom line, or TBL for short, basically challenges businesses to measure their success on 3 key pillars instead of just one. And those are people, planet, and profit. Let's take a quick look at each one.
First up, you've got people. This is all about a company's social impact. How does it treat its own employees? Is it a positive force in the communities where it operates? It's really the human side of the business equation.
Second, there's planet. This is the environmental bottom line. It's about measuring a company's impact on the natural world. Is it working to reduce its carbon footprint? Is it truly committed to sustainability? This is all about holding companies accountable for their role as stewards of the environment.
And finally, profit. Okay, so it's really important to be clear here. The triple bottom line is not anti-profit. Profit is still absolutely vital for a business to survive, to grow, to innovate. The big difference is that it's just no longer the only goal. It's just one part of a much bigger, more complete picture of what success really looks like.
All right, so having a new playbook is great, but what happens when you're faced with a tough decision where the right answer isn't so black and white? How do leaders navigate those tricky, ethical gray areas? Well, this is where having a reliable compass really helps.
Think of this as a practical toolkit for making hard choices. Instead of just going with your gut, leaders can use these 4 approaches to kind of find their true north. You can ask, what's going to create the greatest good for the most people? That's the utilitarian view. Or, does this decision respect the fundamental rights of everyone involved? That's the moral rights approach. Or simply, is this fair? Which is the justice approach. Asking these questions helps guide you through the fog.
But here's the thing. Making the right choice isn't just about one person in a tough spot. The best companies, they build an entire culture of integrity. It's a whole system. It has to start at the top, with leadership setting the tone. It continues with hiring people who actually share the company's values, and you have to back it up with clear training, and maybe most importantly, create a safe place where people are actually rewarded for doing the right thing and speaking up when something's wrong.
Now, this all sounds great, but it leads to the billion-dollar question, doesn't it? Does any of this actually pay off, or is being a good company just a nice idea that ends up hurting the bottom line? Let's take a look at the data.
And this is the classic argument you always hear from the skeptics. Is all this focus on social responsibility just a distraction? Is it basically a form of expensive corporate charity that takes resources away from the real job of a business, which is making money?
Well, the research comes back with a loud, clear no. It's not just charity. It turns out it's incredibly smart business. I mean, look at this. Employees, especially the younger ones, are way more likely to join and stick with these companies. Customers don't just say they prefer them, they're actively planning to spend more money with them. The investment world is pouring trillions of dollars into responsible companies. And the final verdict? Companies with high ethical standards are just flat out more profitable. The data is undeniable.
And if you need just one number to hang on to, let it be this one. The companies that are ranked as America's most just, these are the ones that do the best by their workers, their customers, and their communities. They earn a 4.5% higher profit margin than their competition. That's not a small difference. That is a massive competitive advantage. Doing good isn't a cost center. It's a profit driver.
So when you boil it all down, what you're left with is this simple truth. It's no longer a choice between caring about society's welfare or caring about corporate profits. The two are now totally linked. The most successful companies of the future are going to be the ones that figure out how to do both and do them well.
And that brings everything right back around to you. As an employee, as a customer, as a citizen, you are a part of this huge shift. These new rules of business are being written, right now, by the choices that all of us make every single day. So the real question is, what will you demand?